Jack Morrison stood on the frozen ground of Europa and watched the last human ships disappear into the black space above. The tiny lights got smaller and smaller until they were gone. He was alone now, except for the 4 other people who had stayed behind with him. The wind howled across the ice. Jack pulled his thick coat tighter around his body. He had been a mining engineer for 20 years. He knew how to dig deep holes in the ground and pull out valuable rocks. He had never wanted to be a soldier. He had never wanted to save the world. But here he was, the last person standing between humanity and complete death. Lisa Carter stood next to him, her hands shaking from the cold. She was good with machines. She could fix anything that broke. Her dark hair was covered with frost, and her brown eyes looked scared. She had worked with Jack for 5 years in the mines. She was brave, but she was also smart enough to know how bad things were. Ben Hughes was inside the communications building, trying to keep the radio working. He was young, maybe 25, with red hair and freckles. He could talk to anyone in the galaxy if the equipment worked right. He had been sending messages for days, begging for help. No one had answered. Susan Wright was checking their medical supplies. She was a doctor, but she had learned to work with very little. She was tall and thin, with gray hair tied back in a tight knot. She had saved many lives in the mines over the years. Now she was trying to save 5 lives against an entire alien army. Carl Lewis was watching the sky through his binoculars. He had been security chief for the mining operation. He was big and strong, with dark skin and serious eyes. He knew how to fight, but he also knew they were about to face something much bigger than any fight he had ever been in, the Nexari. Empire had come from somewhere far away in space. They had ships that could destroy entire planets. They had weapons that could kill thousands of people in seconds. They had been moving across the galaxy for months, destroying every human colony they found. Earth was gone, Mars was gone. All the big space stations were gone. Jack had seen the reports. The Nexari did not want to talk. They did not want to make deals. They wanted all humans dead. They were very good at killing. They had powerful technology and millions of soldiers. They had never lost a battle, but Jack had something the Nexari did not understand. He had worked in the mines for 20 years. He knew how to make big explosions. He knew how to move heavy rocks. He knew how to use the tools that were left behind when everyone else ran away. Europa was a small moon that went around Jupiter. It was covered with ice that was many miles thick. Under the ice was an ocean of water. The mining operation had been built to drill down through the ice and find valuable minerals in the ocean floor. Jack knew every tunnel, every machine, every explosive charge in the entire operation. The Nexari ships were coming. Jack could see them in the sky, tiny dots of light that were getting bigger. They would be here in a few hours. They expected to find scared humans hiding in the buildings. They expected an easy fight. Jack had a different plan. He walked back to the mining control room. The others followed him. The room was warm and filled with screens and buttons. Jack sat down at the main control desk and started typing commands into the computer. "What are you doing?" Lisa asked. "I am going to make them sorry they came here," Jack said. He pulled up a map of Europa on the big screen. Red dots showed where all the mining equipment was located. Yellow lines showed all the tunnels they had dug. Blue areas showed where they had placed explosive charges to break up the ice. "We have 50 mining charges left," Jack said. "Each one can blow a hole the size of a house. We have 20 drilling machines. We have ice cutters and rock movers. We have everything we need to fight a war." Carl looked at the map. "Jack, they have spaceships. They have laser weapons. They have armor that can stop bullets. How are we going to fight them with mining equipment?" Jack smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had nothing left to lose. "Carl, you know how to fight soldiers. But these are not soldiers. These are aliens who think they are better than us. They have been winning because they have better technology. But they do not understand humans. They do not understand that we can use anything as a weapon if we are angry enough." He pointed to the screen. "Look at this. Europa has low gravity. That means we can throw things much farther and higher than we can on Earth. Europa has a thin atmosphere. That means explosions work differently here. Europa is mostly ice. That means we can change the shape of the entire moon if we want to. Jack started typing more commands. Ben, I need you to send a message to every human still alive in the galaxy. Tell them that Jack Morrison and his team are making a last stand on Europa. Tell them that we are not giving up. Tell them that humanity fights back. Ben nodded and ran to his radio equipment. Susan, I need you to prepare the medical bay for wounded people. This is going to be a long fight. Susan hurried away to get ready. Lisa, I need you to help me rig the mining equipment. We are going to turn every machine in this place into a weapon. Lisa looked scared, but she nodded. She trusted Jack. Carl, I need you to set up defensive positions. Use the mining tunnels. Make the aliens come to us on our terms. Carl picked up his rifle and checked his ammunition. Jack, you know this is crazy, right? We are 5 people against an entire alien army. Jack looked at his friend. Carl, my grandfather fought in a war on Earth many years ago. He told me that sometimes 5 people who refuse to give up can do more damage than 1,000 people who do not really want to fight. The aliens expect us to run away or surrender. They do not expect us to fight back. That is going to be their mistake. The Nexari ships were getting closer. Jack could see them clearly now through the windows. They were huge, dark shapes that blocked out the stars. They moved slowly, like predators that knew their prey could not escape. Jack activated the mining equipment. All across Europa, machines came to life. Drill bits started spinning. Cutting lasers turned on. Transport belts began moving. The moon started to hum with activity. Remember, Jack said to his team, we are not trying to win this battle. We are trying to make them pay such a high price that they will think twice before attacking the next group of humans they find. We are buying time for the rest of our people to get away and come back stronger. The first Nexari ship came down through the atmosphere. It was bigger than any building Jack had ever seen. It landed near the mining complex and opened its doors. Alien soldiers poured out. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and red eyes. They carried weapons that glowed with energy. Jack waited until they were close to the mining area. Then he pushed a button. The explosion was bigger than anything he had ever made before. 20 mining charges went off at the same time, right under the alien ship. The blast threw ice and rock high into the air. The ship tilted and crashed into the ground. The aliens had not expected that. They had thought humans were weak and scared. They had not expected to be attacked by mining equipment, but Jack was just getting started. He had been a mining engineer for 20 years. He knew how to bring down mountains. Now he was going to teach the Nexari Empire what happened when you tried to kill the human race. The real fight was about to begin. Commander Zethkai stood in the bridge of his warship and stared at the burning wreckage below. His advance team was dead. Their transport ship was destroyed. This was not supposed to happen. The Nexari Empire had conquered over 1,000 worlds. They had fought against creatures with claws like swords and beings that could breathe fire. They had defeated armies with millions of soldiers and weapons that could destroy stars. But they had never lost a ship to primitives using mining equipment. How many humans are down there? Zethkai asked his officer. Our sensors show 5 life forms, Commander, the officer replied. His voice was nervous. Just 5. Zethkai felt anger rising in his chest. 5 humans had killed 30 of his best soldiers. 5 humans had destroyed a ship that cost more than some planets were worth. This was impossible. Send down the second wave, he ordered. 100 soldiers this time. Kill them all. Down on Europa, Jack Morrison was preparing for the next attack. The explosion had worked better than he had hoped. The alien ship was completely destroyed, and the surviving aliens were confused and angry, but he knew they would come back with more soldiers. Ben, did you get the message out? Jack asked. Ben Hughes looked up from his radio equipment. His face was excited. Jack, you are not going to believe this. I have been getting responses from all over the galaxy. There are humans still alive on dozens of worlds. They heard what we did here. They are starting to fight back. Jack felt something he had not felt in months. Hope. What kind of responses? A group on Titan says they destroyed an alien fuel depot. Some survivors on Kepler 442 say they took out a communication station. There are reports coming in from everywhere. People are fighting back, Jack. They are using your idea. Lisa Carter was working on the mining equipment in the main tunnel. She had rigged explosive charges to the support beams. When the aliens came into the tunnel, she could bring the whole ceiling down on them. She was scared, but she was also proud. She was helping to save humanity. Susan Wright was setting up a medical station in the deepest part of the mine. She knew some of them would get hurt in the next battle. She had to be ready. She had bandages and medicine, but not much. She would have to make it work. Carl Lewis was watching the alien ships through his rifle scope. He could see them preparing for another attack. This time they had more soldiers. This time they would be ready for explosions, but Carl had been a soldier before he became a security guard. He knew how to fight when the odds were bad. Jack, they are coming again, Carl said over the radio. It looks like about 100 of them this time. Jack was in the main control room, surrounded by screens and buttons. He had been studying the alien soldiers through the security cameras. They were tall and strong, but they moved like they were not used to fighting in low gravity. They held their weapons like they expected to fight in the open, not in tight tunnels. Everyone get to your positions, Jack said. Lisa, wait until they are deep in the main tunnel before you blow the charges. Carl, pick your shots carefully. We do not have enough ammunition to waste. Susan, stay hidden until we call for you. The alien soldiers came down from their ships in small flying vehicles. They landed around the mining complex and spread out in a circle. They were being more careful this time. They had learned that humans could be dangerous. Zethkai watched from his ship. He had sent his best soldiers this time. They had armor that could stop bullets. They had weapons that could burn through metal. They had training that took years to complete. They would not be defeated by primitive humans. The aliens moved toward the mining buildings. Jack let them come. He wanted them to think they were winning. He wanted them to get confident and make mistakes. The first group of aliens entered the main tunnel. It was dark and narrow. Their weapons lit up the walls with red light. They moved slowly, checking every corner. But they did not understand human engineering. They did not know that Jack had turned the entire tunnel system into a trap. When 20 aliens were inside the tunnel, Jack gave Lisa the signal. She pressed the button that set off the explosive charges. The ceiling came down in a crash of ice and rock. The aliens were buried under tons of debris. None of them survived, but there were still 80 aliens outside. They heard the explosion and saw the tunnel collapse. Now they knew the humans were still fighting. Now they were really angry. Spread out, the alien leader commanded. Do not go into the tunnels. Burn the buildings from the outside. The aliens started firing their energy weapons at the mining complex. The buildings caught fire. The metal walls began to melt. Jack and his team had to move deeper into the mine to avoid the heat, but Jack had expected this. He had prepared for it. While the aliens were busy burning the buildings, he activated the ice cutters. These were huge machines designed to cut through the thick ice of Europa. They could slice through almost anything. The ice cutters were hidden under the ground around the mining complex. When Jack turned them on, they started cutting up through the ice toward the surface. The aliens did not see them coming until it was too late. The first ice cutter came up right under a group of 10 aliens. The spinning blade cut through their armor like it was paper. The aliens screamed and tried to run, but the machine was too fast. More ice cutters came up in different places. The aliens found themselves fighting against machines that came from underground. They could not see the attacks coming. They could not predict where the next machine would appear. What is happening? Zethkai shouted into his radio. Report! Commander. The humans have machines under the ground, his officer replied. They are attacking us from below. We have lost 40 soldiers. Zethkai could not believe what he was hearing. These primitive humans were using mining equipment to fight a war. They were turning their own moon into a weapon. This was not how civilized beings fought. Down in the mine, Jack was controlling the ice cutters from his computer. He could see the aliens on his screens. They were running around in panic, trying to find a safe place to stand. But there was no safe place. Jack had been mining this moon for 20 years. He knew every inch of it. "Jack, the aliens are retreating," Carl reported. "They are going back to their ships." "Let them go," Jack said. "But get ready, they will be back. And next time they will be even more angry." Lisa came running into the control room. She was covered with dust and her hands were shaking. "Jack, that was incredible. Did you see how scared they were? They did not know what to do?" Jack nodded, but he was not smiling. "We won this battle, but we have not won the war. They have more ships. They have more soldiers. They will keep coming until we are all dead." Ben was still working on his radio. "Jack, I'm getting more messages from other humans. The word is spreading. People are fighting back everywhere. They're saying that if 5 people on Europa can fight the Nexari Empire, then they can fight too." Jack felt that hope again. Maybe they could not save themselves. Maybe they would all die on this frozen moon. But maybe their fight would inspire others. Maybe their sacrifice would help humanity survive. "Keep sending the messages, Ben," Jack said. "Tell everyone what we are doing here. Tell them that humans do not surrender. Tell them that we fight back no matter what." Outside, the alien ships were preparing for another attack. Zethkai was calling for more soldiers. He was bringing bigger weapons. He was planning to destroy the entire mining complex and everything in it, but Jack Morrison was not finished. He had more tricks to show the aliens. He had more ways to hurt them. He was just a mining engineer, but he was also a human being. And human beings did not give up, no matter how bad things got. The real war was just beginning. On the planet Kepler 442, Maria Santos crawled through the ventilation system of an abandoned factory. She had been hiding there for 3 months, ever since the Nexari destroyed her city. She was hungry and tired, but she was also angry. Maria had heard Ben Hughes broadcasting from Europa. She had listened to Jack Morrison's fight against the alien empire. 5 people with mining equipment had destroyed alien ships and killed alien soldiers. If they could do it, maybe she could too. The factory had been used to make computers before the invasion. Now it was empty except for some old machines and broken equipment, but Maria was an electrician. She knew how electricity worked. She knew how to make things that could hurt the aliens. She had been watching the Nexari patrol that came through the factory every day. They always walked the same path. They always checked the same rooms. They thought they were safe because no humans lived there anymore. They were wrong. Maria had connected old computer parts to the factory's power system. She had made a trap that would send electricity through the metal floor when the aliens stepped on it. It was simple, but it would work. She heard the aliens coming. Their heavy boots made noise on the metal stairs. There were 6 of them, just like every day. They carried weapons that glowed with energy. They wore armor that covered their gray skin. Maria waited until they were all standing on the metal floor. Then she pushed the button. The electricity went through the floor like lightning. The aliens screamed and fell down. Their armor could stop bullets, but it could not stop electricity. All 6 of them died in seconds. Maria smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in months. She was not helpless anymore. She was fighting back. On Europa, Jack Morrison was running out of time. The alien attacks were getting stronger. Commander Zethkai had brought more ships and more soldiers. They were surrounding the mining complex from all sides. Ben Hughes was still working on his radio. But it was getting harder. The aliens were trying to block his signals. They did not want him to talk to other humans. They did not want the word to spread. "Jack, I am getting reports from everywhere," Ben said. "Humans are fighting back on dozens of worlds. They are using your tactics. They are turning their environment into weapons." Jack was studying the alien ships through his binoculars. There were 12 of them now. Each one carried hundreds of soldiers. He had maybe 50 explosive charges left. He had maybe 10 working machines. It was not enough. "How many of our people are left?" Jack asked. "4," Ben replied. Susan got hit by alien fire when she was trying to reach the medical station. She is hurt bad, but she is still alive. Carl is guarding the main tunnel. Lisa is working on some kind of new trap. Jack felt sadness in his chest. Susan had been trying to help a wounded Carl when the aliens shot her. She was a doctor. She saved lives. She did not deserve to die on this frozen moon, but that was war. Good people died. The only thing Jack could do was make sure their deaths meant something. Lisa Carter was in the deepest part of the mine, working with equipment she barely understood. She had found something interesting in the alien weapons they had captured. The weapons worked by creating energy from some kind of crystal. The crystals were all the same size and shape. Lisa was good with machines, but she was not a scientist. She did not understand how the crystals worked. But she did understand electricity and magnetism. She knew that if she could create the right kind of magnetic field, she might be able to make the crystals explode. She had been working for hours, connecting mining equipment to create a powerful magnetic field generator. It was dangerous. If it worked wrong, it could kill her. But if it worked right, it could destroy every alien weapon in the area. Carl Lewis was watching the tunnels from his position near the main entrance. He had been a soldier before he became a security guard. He knew how to fight. But he had never fought aliens with energy weapons and armor that could stop bullets. His shoulder was bleeding where an alien beam had hit him. Susan had bandaged it before she got hurt. He was in pain, but he could still fight. He would fight until he was dead. Commander Zethkai was getting angry. His soldiers kept dying. His weapons kept failing. These primitive humans were making him look like a fool in front of his superiors. He had called for help from the main Nexari fleet. They were sending more ships and better weapons, but it would take time for them to arrive. And every day he waited, more humans across the galaxy were learning to fight back. The reports were coming in from all over the Empire. Humans were attacking supply depots and communication stations. They were sabotaging alien equipment and killing alien soldiers. They were using the same tactics that Jack Morrison had invented on Europa, on the mining station series. A group of humans had used asteroid mining equipment to destroy an entire alien fleet. They had launched rocks at the alien ships at such high speed that the ships were destroyed on impact. On the planet New Texas, human survivors had used farming equipment to create traps that killed hundreds of alien soldiers. They had turned their irrigation systems into weapons that could flood alien camps on the moon Titan. Humans had used industrial chemicals to create explosions that destroyed alien fuel depots. They had turned their chemical plants into weapon factories. The pattern was always the same. Humans took whatever they had and turned it into something that could hurt the aliens. They did not try to build better technology. They just used what they had in ways the aliens did not expect. Back on Europa, Jack was preparing for what he thought would be the final battle. The aliens were getting ready to attack with everything they had. They wanted to end this fight once and for all. "Lisa, how is that magnetic field generator coming along?" Jack asked over the radio. "Almost ready," Lisa replied. "But Jack, I do not know if it will work. I do not really understand how these alien crystals work." "That is okay," Jack said. "We are all doing things we do not understand. The important thing is that we keep trying." Ben was still sending messages to humans across the galaxy. His equipment was damaged, but he kept it working with spare parts and determination. He was telling everyone about the fight on Europa. He was telling them that humans could win if they refused to give up. "Jack, you need to hear this," Ben said. "I am getting a message from Earth." Jack felt his heart stop. Earth was supposed to be dead? The aliens had destroyed it months ago. "There are humans still alive in the underground cities," Ben continued. "They have been hiding, but now they are coming out. They are fighting back. They are using the subway tunnels and sewer systems to attack the aliens." Jack felt that hope. Again, Earth was not dead. Humanity was not dead. All across the galaxy, humans were learning to fight back. Lisa finished connecting the last wire to her magnetic field generator. It was a strange machine made from mining equipment, computer parts, and pieces of alien technology. She did not know if it would work, but she was going to try. "Jack, the machine is ready," she said, "but I need to warn you. If this works, it will probably destroy all the electronic equipment in the area, including our own." "Do it," Jack said. "We have come this far. We are not stopping now." Lisa turned on the machine. It made a humming noise that grew louder and louder. The lights in the mine started to flicker. The alien weapons on the surface began to spark and smoke. Then there was a flash of light so bright that it could be seen from space. Every alien weapon in the area stopped working. Their energy crystals had overloaded and burned out. The aliens were suddenly defenseless. They had depended on their technology so much that they did not know how to fight without it. Jack smiled. Lisa had done something amazing. She had turned the aliens' own technology against them. She had found a way to level the playing field. "Now we fight them on equal terms," Jack said. "Now we show them what humans can do when we are really angry." The tide was turning. Across the galaxy, humans were learning that they could fight back. They were learning that they could win, and it had all started with 5 people on a frozen moon who refused to surrender. 6 months had passed since the first battle on Europa. Jack Morrison's name was now known across the galaxy. The Nexari Empire called him the Engineer in their reports. They spoke his name with fear and respect. Jack did not feel like a hero. He felt tired and hungry. His clothes were torn and dirty. His hands were cut from working with broken machinery. He had not slept properly in weeks. But he was still alive, and he was still fighting. Lisa Carter sat next to him in the control room of their underground bunker. She was thinner than before, and her hair was gray from stress, but her eyes were bright with determination. She had become an expert at destroying alien technology. She had taught other humans across the galaxy how to build magnetic field generators. "Jack, we are getting reports from Colonel Pete Davis on Mars," Lisa said. "He says the human resistance has taken back 3 cities. They are using our tactics, but they have more people and better equipment." Jack nodded. Pete Davis had been a military officer before the invasion. He had escaped from Mars when the aliens first attacked. Now he was leading an army of human survivors who had learned to fight like Jack's team. "What about Dr. Amy Kelly on Titan?" Jack asked. "She says the science teams have figured out how to copy alien technology. They are building new weapons that are even better than what the aliens have. She wants to thank you for showing them that alien technology can be beaten." Jack looked at the screens that showed the surface of Europa. There were dozens of burned alien ships scattered across the ice. The mining complex was destroyed, but the underground tunnels were still safe. He and Lisa had been living in the deepest parts of the mine, fighting a war that should have been impossible to win, but they were not just fighting anymore. They were winning. The resistance movement had grown beyond anything Jack had imagined. Humans on hundreds of worlds were fighting back. They were using Jack's tactics, but they were also creating new ways to fight. They were sharing information and working together in ways that confused the aliens. Commander Zethkai was no longer in charge of the Europa operation. He had been replaced by Commander Vexmore, who was supposed to be the best military leader in the Nexari Empire. But even Vexmore was having trouble understanding how humans fought. "They do not follow any logical pattern," Vexmore told his officers. "They do not use standard military tactics. They do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for ideas, they fight for emotions, they fight for reasons that make no sense." Vexmore had brought the most advanced weapons in the Nexari fleet. He had energy cannons that could destroy mountains. He had soldiers with armor that could survive in space. He had ships that could move faster than light, but none of it seemed to matter. The humans kept finding new ways to hurt his forces. They kept turning his own technology against him. They kept fighting even when they should have surrendered. On Europa, Jack was preparing for what he thought would be the final battle. The aliens had brought so many ships that they blocked out the stars. They had surrounded the moon completely. There was no way to escape, but Jack did not want to escape. He wanted to finish what he had started. "Lisa, is the core detonator ready?" Jack asked. Lisa looked sad. "Yes, Jack, but you know what will happen if we use it. The explosion will destroy Europa completely. We will not survive." Jack had been working on the core detonator for months. It was a device that would cause Europa's ice core to explode. The explosion would be so big that it would destroy every alien ship in the area, but it would also kill everyone on the moon. "Maybe we will not need to use it," Jack said. "Ben is still getting messages from other humans. Maybe help is coming." Ben. Hughes was working on his radio in the communications room. He had been sending messages for months, but now he was receiving them too. Humans across the galaxy were coordinating their attacks. They were planning something big? "Jack, you need to hear this," Ben said. "I am getting a message from Admiral Ron Baker. He says he has a fleet of human ships heading this way." Jack felt his heart jump. Ron Baker had been a cargo pilot before. The invasion. He had escaped from the first alien attack on the outer colonies. Jack had heard that Ron was gathering survivors and building new ships, but he had not believed it was possible. "How many ships does he have?" Jack asked. "He says he has over 200, Ben replied. "They are not military ships. They are cargo. Haulers and mining vessels and passenger transports. But they have been modified with alien technology that we captured. He says they are coming to get us." Jack could not believe it. 200 human ships were coming to Europa. They were coming to save him and his team. They were coming to continue the fight. Carl Lewis was still guarding the tunnels, even though he was badly wounded. He had been shot 3 times by alien weapons, but he refused to stop fighting. He was the last line of defense between the aliens and the control room. "Jack, the aliens are moving," Carl reported. "They are getting ready for a major attack. I think they know about the human fleet that is coming." Jack looked at his screens. The alien ships were moving into attack formation. They were preparing to destroy the underground bunker before the human fleet arrived. They wanted to kill Jack Morrison and end the symbol of human resistance. "How long until Admiral Baker gets here?" Jack asked Ben. 6 hours, Ben replied. "But the aliens will attack in 1 hour," Jack made a decision. He would not use the core detonator. He would not destroy Europa. He would hold out for 6 more hours. He would wait for the human fleet to arrive. "Lisa, can you make 1 more magnetic field generator?" Jack asked. "I can try," Lisa said. "But we do not have much equipment left." "Carl, can you hold the tunnels for 6 more hours?" "I can try," Carl replied, "but I am running out of ammunition." "Ben, keep sending messages to the human fleet. Tell them we are still here. Tell them we are still fighting." The alien attack began at exactly noon, Europa time. Hundreds of alien soldiers poured into the tunnels. They had new weapons that were designed to work even when their energy crystals were disrupted. They had armor that was thicker and stronger than before, but Jack had been preparing for this moment for 6 months. He had turned the entire underground mine into a fortress. Every tunnel was a trap. Every room was a weapon. Every piece of equipment was designed to hurt the aliens. The battle was fierce and bloody. Carl fought like a hero, holding off dozens of aliens with just his rifle and determination. Lisa worked frantically to build new weapons from broken machinery. Ben kept the communications working even when alien weapons were exploding around him. Jack ran from room to room, activating traps and controlling the mining equipment. He used drilling machines to attack aliens from below. He used conveyor belts to crush them. He used chemical tanks to poison them. He used everything he could think of. The aliens kept coming. They seemed to have unlimited soldiers. But Jack's team kept fighting. They fought because they knew that help was coming. They fought because they knew that humanity was depending on them. 5 hours into the battle, Jack heard something that made his heart soar. It was the sound of human ships entering the Jupiter system. Admiral Ron Baker had arrived with his fleet. The space battle above Europa was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships that had been built to carry cargo were now armed with weapons made from alien technology. They were not as advanced as the Nexari ships, but they were piloted by humans who had learned to fight with creativity and determination. The tide of the battle turned. The aliens were caught between Jack's resistance on the surface and the human fleet in space. They were being attacked from two directions by enemies who refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare. Commander Vexmore watched his fleet being destroyed by primitive humans in converted cargo ships. He could not understand how this had happened. The Nexari Empire was supposed to be invincible. Jack Morrison stood in the ruins of his control room and watched the alien ships burning in the sky above Europa. He had done it. He had held out long, enough for help to arrive. He had survived the impossible battle, but more importantly, he had proven something to the galaxy. He had proven that humans could fight back. He had proven that technology was not everything. He had proven that the will to survive was stronger than any weapon. The liberation of Europa was just the beginning. The real war was about to start. 1 year later, Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the human ship called New Hope and looked at Earth through the front windows. The planet was still beautiful, with blue oceans and white clouds, but the cities were dark. The alien ships were everywhere. This was the final battle. The Nexari Empire had gathered all their remaining ships around Earth. They were making their last stand at the home of humanity. If the humans won here, the war would be over. If they lost, humanity would be extinct forever. Admiral Ron Baker stood next to Jack. Ron had become the leader of the human fleet over the past year. He was a good leader, but he still asked Jack for advice. Jack had become a symbol of human resistance. Everyone knew his story. Everyone knew that he had faced extinction with nothing but his will to survive. "How many ships do they have?" Jack asked. "Our scouts count about 500 Nexari ships," Ron replied. "They have taken position around Earth's orbital shipyards. They are using the old human space stations as shields." Jack nodded. The aliens were smart. They knew that humans would not want to destroy their own home planet. They were using human emotions against them. "How many ships do we have?" Jack asked. 800, Ron said. "But remember, most of our ships used to be cargo haulers and mining vessels. We have more ships, but theirs are still more powerful." Jack looked around the bridge. The crew was made up of people from all over the galaxy. There was Captain Steve Parker, who had been a police officer before the war. There was Dr. LeVar Mitchell, who had learned to turn medical equipment into weapons. There was Engineer Billy Roberts, who could fix anything that broke. These people had all learned to fight. Because of what Jack had done on Europa, they had all refused to give up when things looked impossible. They had all chosen to face extinction with nothing but their will to survive. "Jack, we are getting a message from the planet's surface," said Communications Officer Nancy Foster. "There are human survivors in the underground cities. They are ready to help us." Jack smiled. Even after all this time, there were still humans hiding on Earth. They had been waiting for this moment. They had been preparing to fight back. The battle began when the human fleet entered Earth's orbit. The Nexari ships opened fire immediately. Their energy weapons lit up space like fireworks. The human ships fired back with weapons they had built from captured alien technology. Jack was not a ship captain, but he was leading a special team. Their job was to get onto the main Nexari command ship and destroy it from the inside. It was a dangerous mission, but Jack had volunteered for it. He wanted to finish what he had started on Europa. The small transport ship that carried Jack's team was piloted by Lisa Carter. She had learned to fly during the war. She had also learned to fight with weapons and explosives. She was still the same person who had fixed mining equipment on Europa, but now she was also a warrior. "Jack, I am reading massive energy signatures from the command ship," Lisa said. "They have some kind of new weapon. It looks like it could destroy our entire fleet." Jack studied the readings on his screen. The aliens had built something new. It was a weapon that could create explosions as big as stars. If they used it, they could destroy every human ship in the area. "We have to stop them before they can use that weapon," Jack said. "Get us to their ship as fast as you can." The transport Ship flew through the space battle, dodging energy beams and explosions. Other human ships provided cover, drawing alien fire away from Jack's team. Many brave people died to get Jack to the command ship. Ben Hughes was still with Jack's team, even after all this time. He was older now, and he had scars from many battles. But he was still the communications expert. He was still the person who kept everyone connected. "Jack, I am picking up transmissions from inside the alien ship," Ben said. "It sounds like they are preparing to use their new weapon in 10 minutes. Jack felt his heart racing. 10 minutes was not much time. They had to get inside the alien ship, find the weapon, and destroy it before it could be used. The transport ship docked with the alien command ship. Jack's team put on spacesuits and prepared to enter the enemy vessel. They had studied the layout of Nexari ships for months. They knew where to go. The inside of the alien ship was dark and cold. The walls were made of metal that felt strange to touch. The air smelled like chemicals and death. Jack led his team through the corridors, following the path they had memorized. They encountered alien guards along the way. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were the elite troops who protected the most important Nexari leaders. They were bigger and stronger than regular aliens. They had better weapons and armor, but Jack's team had something the aliens did not understand. They had experience fighting when the odds were impossible. They had learned to use everything as a weapon. They had learned to never give up. Lisa used her engineering skills to turn the ship's own systems against the guards. She overloaded power conduits to create explosions. She reversed the airflow to confuse the aliens. She turned the lights on and off to create confusion. Ben used his communications equipment to disrupt the alien command systems. He sent false orders that made the guards go to the wrong places. He created static that made it hard for the aliens. To coordinate their defense, Jack fought with a weapon he had built himself. It was part alien energy rifle, part human mining tool. It could cut through alien armor and also dig through metal walls. It was not beautiful, but it worked. The team reached the weapon control room just as the countdown reached 2 minutes. The room was huge, filled with alien technology that hummed with power. At the center was a crystal the size of a house. It was glowing brighter and brighter as it prepared to fire. "How do we stop this thing?" Lisa asked. Jack studied the alien equipment. He had spent a year learning how Nexari technology worked. He had learned that it all depended on energy crystals like the one in front of them. If he could disrupt the crystal, the weapon would not work. "Ben, can you create an electromagnetic pulse with your equipment?" Jack asked. "I can try," Ben replied. "But it might not be strong enough to affect something that big." "Lisa, can you overload the power systems feeding into the crystal?" "Maybe," Lisa said. "But if I do it wrong, the explosion might destroy the whole ship. We might not escape." Jack looked at his 2 oldest friends. They had been with him since the beginning. They had fought beside him on Europa when everyone thought humanity was finished. They had helped him prove that humans could fight back against impossible odds. "Do it," Jack said, "both of you. We did not come this far to fail now." Lisa started working on the power systems. Ben prepared his electromagnetic pulse generator. Jack stood guard, watching for alien soldiers who might try to stop them. With 30 seconds left on the countdown, Lisa finished her work. The power systems began to overload. Sparks flew from the alien machinery. Alarms started going off throughout the ship. With 10 seconds left, Ben activated his electromagnetic pulse. The energy wave hit the giant crystal and made it flicker. For a moment, Jack thought it had not worked. Then the crystal went dark. The countdown stopped. The weapon was dead. All around Earth, the space battle was turning in favor of the humans. The alien ships were being destroyed one by one. Without their superweapon, the Nexari had no way to win. Jack and his team escaped from the command ship. Just before it exploded, they were picked up by a human rescue ship and taken back to the fleet. Commander Vexmore died when his ship was destroyed. The remaining Nexari ships surrendered. The war was over. Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Hope and watched the alien ships powering down their weapons. Around him, human crews were cheering and crying with joy. They had won. Humanity had survived. Ron Baker put his hand on Jack's shoulder. "You did it, Jack. You saved us all." Jack shook his head. "I did not save anyone. We all saved each other. Every person who refused to give up. Every person who fought back when things looked impossible. Every person who chose to face extinction with nothing but their will to survive." Over the next months, humans began returning to Earth. They rebuilt their cities and their lives. They explored the galaxy again, but this time they were stronger. They had learned that they could overcome anything if they worked together. Jack Morrison returned to Europa, where it all began. He stood on the frozen ground where he had made his first stand against the alien empire. The mining equipment was still there, rusted and broken. But it had served its purpose. Jack was not a hero. He was just a mining engineer who had refused to surrender, but sometimes that was enough. Sometimes one person's will to survive could save an entire species. The galaxy was at peace. Humanity was free. And it had all started with 5 people on a frozen moon who decided that extinction was not acceptable. Jack Morrison had faced humanity's extinction with nothing but his will, and his will had been enough.